Hey, what's up, guys? It's Wes. So, feeling a little lazy right now. Actually, more tired is the right word. I'm kind of swamped with NDA work, which is good. It's a good problem to have. But, my brain has been solving problems a lot. So I thought it would be kind of fun and relaxing to just do a photo study. So I went through Pinterest boards. I went through like Pexels and Unsplash and, kind of these stock photo website type things, and found a few things. And one that I'm doing, I'm already in the middle of it, but it's of a night. And I thought it was a really cool picture, really dynamic, kind of a perfect excuse to use Krita and kind of the RGBA brushes and the Memilio brushes, which I've just fallen in love with. And maybe even some Clip Studio Paint 4.0, which I do have the license for now. And I want to kind of break that in, kind of see what kind of the engine feels like, that brush engine. I love Clip Studio as well. So I thought, what better way to kind of break both things in? We already know and love Krita on the RGBA and the Memilio side, but now let's open up Clip Studio 4.0, kind of see what that's all about. I will have a more kind of deep dive thoughts video about Clip Studio 4.0 later, but I wanted to kind of do something nice, easy, and relaxing. Not solve a lot of problems, not push it to the limit, none of that stuff. Just do a nice photo study, nice painterly look, big kind of impressionistic brushstrokes, kind of render in some details to focus the eye. Nothing too crazy. But yeah, let's talk about this stuff, talk about that workflow and why sometimes it's good to let yourself relax, just doodle around with no real expectations. So without further ado, let's get to it. So we're in the mix already. We're here in Krita and we're going to be hopping on over to Clip Studio as well. I'm going to be showing a little bit of footage from both of these things. Yeah, man, just sometimes, if you're solving problems, if you're working with clients, or even let's say you're a student and you're learning and you've been doing a lot of like tutorials and you bought some, new brushes, or you brought, you have your new art book, you have all this stuff and you're trying to really push yourself over and over and over. Sometimes it's okay to just relax and do a study and not have to like reinvent the wheel. You don't have to push every boundary all the time forever. And I know, it's kind of the blind leading the blind, because I always want to sort of level up. I'm kind of obsessed with that idea that, if I get better, I'll get better gigs and I'll get more gigs more often. And there's this kind of chasing the dragon sort of thing. And sometimes it's nice to just pump the brakes and use stuff that that you feel comfortable with, kind of that comfort food of artwork, whether that's traditional or digital, kind of your favorite program. And you know how it feels. If you don't have anything planned, you just want to do something a little fun. You see a cool picture, you kind of want to redo it in your style, and you open up your favorite program and you get your favorite brushes. And you can just veg out. You listen to a podcast. You watch something in the background. I always have YouTube going in the background, and it's madness. It's either like StarCraft esports type stuff, or because there's some hype moments and stuff. And now fighting games and all that stuff. But a lot of times, and this is really weird, and shows how much of a nerd I am. But I have a lot of like retro video game, like hardware reviews and FPGA, a field programmable gate array. It's kind of the way you can emulate, how emulation, you emulate these programs and then you can play the emulated games on them and all that stuff. Well, FPGA devices do that with hardware. They're like motherboard chips that you program to emulate. It's almost like an exact replica of like a regular Nintendo or a Sega Genesis or, stuff like that. So I know we're going down a real goofy, deep rabbit hole, but it's all in part of saying like, sometimes you just got to veg out. You got to put on the stuff that just makes you nice and relaxed. You don't have to think too hard about it. You just have it on in the background. Same thing with art. Do you love, Japanese role-playing games like I do? Well, do a study of one of those pictures, or, try to find a color palette that matches that feel of like what you really are passionate about. Maybe those games evoke a certain emotion, and can you capture that emotion with certain brushstrokes? It doesn't even have to be a finalized image. Now this one was, just doing this painting of a night, because I thought the look was very dynamic. When I saw the image, I think this one was on Pinterest, and if I get the name of the photographer, I'm going to put it down there for sure. But a very dynamic picture, just because I saw this as a painting the moment I saw the image. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was a super easy, switch in my brain. I was like, oh, I can make that into a painting. I know for a fact I can, because I can see these big highlights, these big shadow shapes, kind of the dynamicism, if that's a real word, of the pose. Like that hand coming across, and you see the sheath of the sword kind of breaking the silhouette of it has everything that I'm really starting to like about images, which is very solid shapes, a ton of room that you can do really messy impressionistic brushwork, and it will just aid to it. You don't have to worry about like rendering something super hardcore. It gives a lot of emotion, a lot of fluidity, a lot of dynamics, which is kind of what our one main word for earlier in the year was. Remember how we picked one word to kind of make sure everything followed that going forward for the year. And my word was dynamic. So this fits that bill. And, I always love using the Krita RGBA brushes and the Memilio brushes. They give you that beautiful, really thick paint, natural look. And then taking something from Krita, doing that, and taking it into Clip Studio, where you have a little bit more, in my opinion, and I know some people in the comments disagree with this, but I feel like I have a little more control over my brushes in Clip Studio, simply because there's more like granular setting on Clip Studio. And it's no knock against Krita. It's just everything has its own need, everything has its own feel. So I always like to use Clip Studio in the same way that I would use my Photoshop. The only difference is I actually prefer Clip Studio when I'm using more kind of wet, blendy brushes. Yeah, you have the mixer brush tool in Photoshop, but it's a lot of fun. It can do some incredible looks, but it doesn't feel as natural. It doesn't feel as I don't know. It sounds really hoity-toity, but in Clip Studio, it's almost like you're having a conversation with the brush. Every type of feedback that you give it, it gives you other feedback. And I know that's very esoteric and like weird to say, but if you've used Clip Studio and you've gone in and kind of played around with those brushes, hopefully you know what I mean. Like there's a conversation happening. And with Photoshop, in my opinion, and this is for using the program for damn near 20 years, it's kind of stoic. Like you make the change, it's very clinical, and there it is. It doesn't, Photoshop very rarely nowadays gives me that ooh and ah factor of an accident. I just know it too well. I just know what I'm going to get the moment I put a brush down, and that's fine. And I mean, for like real big client work and, Magic the Gathering stuff and like the Warhammer work and Star Wars, I need it to be pixel perfect. Certain things, if a client comes to me and needs a change, it needs to be fixed, I will go into Photoshop. But for that kind of relaxation setting, hey, all bets are off, the stakes have never been lower, like sort of just chill out vibe. Just express yourself, do whatever. It could be brush strokes or an image or a master study or whatever makes you feel comfortable and relaxed. Do that. The Krita and Clip Studio combo it's a monster combo, man. I love it. I've been using it every single day. I'll bring something into Krita, use those great Memilio and RGBA brushes, maybe dabble a little bit with some of the other built-in Krita brushes, some sketch tools. I know Raymond Miranda, he did some incredible brushes. He has a whole list of brushes, but you can find those on the Krita community forums, or the Krita artist forums, I should say. And it's incredible brush engine. But, all of my Photoshop brushes import into Clip Studio pretty perfectly. Very rarely do I have to tweak settings and stuff. And if anything, when I tweak a setting, it's to make it better, because Clip Studio does have a better wet brush engine than Photoshop does. So yeah, it's kind of, you get the best of all worlds. You get that nice, beautiful impressionism of Krita, the same way you would get with like a Rebel or Art Rage or Paintstorm Studio. And then you move over to Clip for the little bit more exact pixel perfect stuff, and you're good to go. You can't really beat Photoshop on the post-production side of things, though. Like if you need a color tweak or like run under gamut or do things like that. But we're not even worried about that this time. You know, I didn't even really color pick. I just picked warms and cools. And then so my colors, I think, are off from the reference. But that's fine. I mean, what good is a reference or what good is a painting if it's an exact copy of the reference? That's no fun. So I just wanted to make something that looked cool and looked dynamic, and hopefully we achieve that. But I'm interested in kind of what your process is. Do you have a set process that you like to open up this program first and do a sketch and then export to this program? Or are you kind of a one and done? Do you just really love, let's say, like Procreate or Infinite Painter, and you go in, you open up, let's say, Rebel or Krita or what have you, and you do the whole thing beginning to end? You know the program, you know it's going to do what you need to. You don't need to flex around and kind of export to here and open into there and re-export out to here. And I understand the way I go about things is a little convoluted, but hey, that's just how my brain works. It gives me a refresh button. I have new problems to solve. I have new challenges to overcome every time I jump into a new painting program. But I'd love to know what kind of your background is and kind of what's your main thing. Do you get the cup of coffee? Do you get the tea? What are you drinking? Are you eating anything, or is eating by your workstation a no-no? I know some people are like that. I'm very much not. Hell, I have a Starbucks coffee and a G Fuel energy drink and like cookies and all kinds of stuff around here. Just like I'm a big toad, basically, just like lounging in this chair right now. But yeah, I hope you like some of this footage of it. I am feeling more comfortable in kind of, hey, take it or leave it. This is how I paint. Instead of trying to paint like other people, instead of trying to do big master studies and getting, stroke for stroke reenactments the way I was obsessed with a few years ago. Now I'm just kind of like, hey, this is all I got. I think in a bittersweet kind of sad way, I did that video about how much money I made last year and how we have to kind of stop being a full-time illustrator. Maybe that broke something. Maybe I had to take a look back and be like, you know what, man, why am I stressing for something that's, I don't know, not quite what I expected. But anyways, it's not sour grapes time. No, we already had that video. You can go watch it if you want to. But this one's good. It's chill. It's the joy of painting, and that's what it's all about, really. So I'm very interested in what your procedure is, kind of what your structure is like. Do you have days like this to where you just want to veg out? You don't have any expectations. It ain't going in the portfolio. It's not, even if it goes on socials, you expect it to get 1 or maybe 2 likes, and that's about it. Yeah, I don't expect this to get a ton of likes because this is it's a bit messy. Some people really dig it. The people that are into it are way into it. But other people are like, oh, when are you going to finish it? And it's like, no, this is the goal. Like, I want it to be impressionistic. I want it to be thick brushes and big, bold strokes and energy and dynamics. More so than like, how well is it rendered and how realistic does the metal look? Like, I don't care. I genuinely do not care. So if you want to find this, like I said, I think this was on Pinterest. So if you find this image and you want to remake it yourself and make it more rendered and in your style, please go for it. I'd love to see it. But yeah, this is me just being messy and having fun. And I think that's what it's all about at the end of the day. But that is my time. Like I said, it's a quick one, a lazy one, as it were. A lot going on, a lot of stuff with work, which is good. It is a very good problem to have. More work is best work. You know what I mean? So more NDA stuff. My magic stuff's coming up soon. Those deadlines are coming up. So yeah, just working, man, hanging in there. But I hope you all are doing well. And like I said, I will be having a video on Clip Studio 4.0, probably the next video, I actually think. And we're going to take a look at a few of the different things that they've added. I know they've added the ability to like paint textures on 3D models, which is kind of mind blowing to me. But a very welcome very welcome addition, because it's going to make a lot of things way easier. You can also add different temperature lights and stuff now, just crazy stuff. A lot of big things on the 3D side of things. So we'll take a look at that, kind of see what mess we can get into and go from there. But yeah, that's it for me, guys. Hope you're having a fantastic springtime. I know it's raining a little bit more here, but hopefully the weather's good where you're at and get out a little bit and actually get some natural vitamin D instead of the vitamin D from the vitamins like I get. My lack of tan is sponsored by painting as a career and video games as a hobby. So that's what I always say. But that's it. All right, go out there, make cool art, and we will see you guys next time. Peace.